Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to Quickbooks Labs. I think this monthly way of doing it actually works really well, Ash, because we have actually got news for you all today. So let's first of all go through the normal pitter-patter. So Quickbooks Labs, a monthly podcast designed to be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software. On the first Wednesday of each month, we hang around these microphones to talk about all the latest news, tips, and tricks for QuickBooks Online. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Patrick, a chartered accountant and owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks certified trainer. I've got the thing somewhere around here, and also the QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, the one and only Ash. How's it going, Ash?
Fantastic, thanks, Aaron. Yes, it's me, Ash Beetson, QuickBooks trainer / bookkeeper / accountant, software developer, one of the men behind NetTracker, making fixed assets easy - very easy. But over to you, Aaron.
No worries, no worries. So today, like I said, we actually have a cracker. We actually have news to talk about. I can't wait. You may have noticed that we were struggling for content a little bit towards some of those bi-weekly podcasts. But now that we're down to a monthly one, we've got loads to talk about for you. And some of them are actually really impactful. So we'll make sure we cover them as we need to. Okay, so a bit of a public service announcement on the new format to begin with. As we said at the beginning, we are now a monthly podcast. So if you are listening to us, then you should be listening out for us to be on the first Wednesday of every single month. But that's all while we're also live to the world as well. So if you can, why not come and join us at the 4:30 UK time or 10:30 US Central Time? And if you listen to this back at a later time, why don't you think about coming to join us live? That way you can get involved in the show and ask questions live on here, and we can't wait to answer those as we need to. So if you've got any burning questions, stick them in that comment box and we will make sure we answer them accordingly. As you already should know by now as well, we're on podcasting services around the globe. So if you feel free to subscribe on the podcast service of your choice. Ash, have you got that agenda ready for us today?
I certainly have, Aaron. I feel slightly guilty because you are going to be doing nearly all of the talking and I should be chipping in here and then. But here is today's agenda. There is a new reconcile screen. There are more ways that you can get help in QuickBooks. We've got new ways to manage the bank connections in QuickBooks. At the accounting review, there is some other news regarding Go Cardless, a possible Square integration. Something happened with Xero, I do believe. We've got an Accountancy Manager between Zapier, and also, if we have time, there's a little bit on Make Attach Digital that we can squeeze in if we get through all of that stuff.
Excellent. All right, let's go straight into this first news point, because it was almost like QuickBooks themselves were listening to our last podcast. So if you come back to the last one, we had a great little show last time around. In fact, it was one of my favorites, to be honest, with a great guest on there as well. And one of the things we talked about was the idea of how we used to have the ability, when we first had open banking, we had the ability to bring in your bank statements without having to go and ask them from clients. And that's a huge point for us accountants and bookkeepers to be able to reconcile your bank accounts without having to disturb clients was a great feature. And also for clients themselves, if they want to go and reconcile a bank account, instead of having to download that individual statement, there was an opportunity using open banking to be able to actually bring that statement directly in. And that feature completely disappeared. There was no reason for it. We had no kind of warning on it whatsoever. But what it does seem to happen, it seems to have started to come in a little bit more. So if I just share the screen a little bit, I'm going to have to do it this way around. It's the only way I can figure out how to do it. So if I share screen here, I'll get rid of that as well. Hopefully you can see there that we've got this area here. So it's talking about how, for this particular one, it was a Santander account. They were on open banking. And you can see here that we don't import statements for this account. You need to get it manually, which to me suggests that there are accounts out there where it's starting to bring that in. And what you'll find, and what we've learned kind of when we're looking at stuff that have changed within QuickBooks and everything else, that what will normally happen is when little changes like this happens, then they'll happen to a small percentage of your client base. So if you've got multiple licenses, you'll see that these little changes happening. So I've spotted this one on a particular client. Obviously, Santander doesn't look like it's supported yet, but that could be something that comes down in the future. But it'll be interesting to try and find one where it is supported and we can get that there. What do you think, Ash? Do you think this is something that looks like it's going to happen, or do you think it's pie in the sky and we should forget all about it?
Well, I hope that is going to happen, because that's fantastic. I was just while you were talking, I was just trying to have a look at one of my files that I've got access to.
Yeah.
My screen is still sort of the old screen, so maybe it's not. Is it one of these like part rollouts?
Yeah,
I'm guessing, but that would be such a fantastic tool to have that, because it is a bind when you don't have the bank statement. And quite often, as maybe a bookkeeper for a company, and I'll do all of the work and then pass it on to the accountant. The accountant is going to want that bank statement.
Yeah.
So if the accountant's got access to QuickBooks, well, he'll be able to download it anyway. If he doesn't, for any reason, at least I could just download it without having to go through all the rigmarole of logging into the bank and getting it and then emailing it. So, yeah, very welcomed.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, where we've talked about it a few times about the benefits that we can get out of it and everything that we can see, but it was always strange how it just disappeared. And I know at the moment a lot of people are a little bit upset about features disappearing. So anyone who didn't catch it on the last show, we had the news that we're losing the ability to bring in through QuickBooks Labs, ironically, the ability to bring in the import invoices and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those where every now and again we just got to accept the fact that due to reasons out of probably QuickBooks control more than most of it, we will have situations where beloved features will just disappear. But this was always one where it was that shining light as why go through the rigmarole of going over to open banking. Well, there's this, and when they give you a reason and incentive to do it, and this was a real clear incentive, then it kind of a no-brainer in my eyes. But yeah, it's glad to see that it looks like it's lurking there in the background. Let's just hope we get an opportunity to get involved in trying it out and checking it, because done right, this could be perfect. In your eyes, though, do you think this is something that because if you think back like to Xero and to those other kind of software solutions, they kind of don't believe in reconciliations, do they? They don't see that there's a need to when you're bringing in your transactions. I think that's kind of rubbed off a little bit. But in your eyes, do you think this is something where if they can actually bring through the numbers as well, so they can bring through that imbalance, do you think does it need to go that far, or do you think they just need to show you that balance and you'll have to type in? But how would you want it implemented?
I definitely think the statement should be there as accessible, because it's just that extra double check, isn't it? It's that thing that you are agreeing with what you're, just because the computer says yes. I suppose the computer says no. You want that computer that says the right thing. You don't always just want to agree, believe what you see on the screen.
Exactly.
You want something to back it up, don't you? But just by seeing a value on there, I wouldn't be happy with just that. I know it comes through from the bank feed, every day, the bank balance, but
yeah.
You do want to just have that extra little bit of, that is definitely what was in my bank today, and there's been no little glitch and the screen hasn't paused for some reason or whatever.
Yeah, and there's been, I don't know if you've heard, but there's been a lot of issues lately with HSBC moving over. So all it takes is, someone as large as HSBC to have those issues and those problems can affect a lot of clients. So having that peace of mind and being able to clean it up is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and the problem is, Aaron, with some of those bank balances that you see, they're not specifically the balance of today. It could be the cleared balance of yesterday, and that's not actually been updated today yet. So you although it gives you a balance on the screen, sometimes you don't know exactly what day it relates to. So that's another little thing, little niggle that doesn't always help, I think, on that screen alone.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. All right, next topic then, and this is another one where we've had items that have kind of basically disappeared and reappeared again, unfortunately. So I don't know if you remember this or can remember, because you've never really played much with the QuickBooks Self-Employed, have you? That's not been something you've had too much of a play around with to date, isn't it, Ash? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not needed to use it a lot, no.
Yeah. So one of the standout features that they brought in when they first brought it into place was it was almost like an assistant, like like Siri, and I won't say the other one, but there's the one begins with A, and then there's the Hey Google and all that lot. Yeah. I've just said I wasn't going to say it, and I did. But it doesn't matter which one of those you use. You know how you've got that kind of idea where you're asking a question, it asks you a question back, and it's trying to make that conversation. Well, QuickBooks had this in QuickBooks Self-Employed, where it had this called QB Assistant, and the idea was that you could get your phone out, talk to it, and it could it was trying to be so that you could ask it a question and it would give you a result. And they tried to show kind of ideas of what's my rent for this month, and you were supposed to be able to ask like very like, instead of having to know the exact terms and everything else, you could have a more conversational approach with it. But then that kind of got dropped as well, and that's not been around for a while within QuickBooks Self-Employed. But it looks like it's on its way back, and it looks like it's made it to the full version of QuickBooks. Now, it was live on one of my clients, and I was playing around with it, but I can't replicate it now, so I can't show it on screen. But it's basically saying that there are now more ways to help. And so they've got a little statement here of exactly what it relates to. And it says, you may have noticed some changes to the help panel in QuickBooks. You can now get help from QuickBooks Assistant, our voice-activated chatbot, or use the help panel to search for articles, community posts, and videos. So basically, it's getting rid of that help screen that we've got, where at the moment, if you remember, you just type in and it tries to bring you a best solution. And if you can't, it says chat with us now and everything else. And it's going to bring it up with basically a chat box. So the idea would be that, it will just be, how can I help you? And then you can put it through. I've used Invoice, which truthfully is probably a little bit gimmicky. I can't imagine it being all that useful using your voice, but some people will definitely use it, and there'll be some people who would, get a lot of benefit out of it. But I think a lot of people use the whole idea of just typing in a question and trying to get that result back. Because if they can try and make that conversational and a bit more less accounting-like, if you like, which is what QuickBooks is renowned for, I think that's going to be really, really useful. So what do you think to that? Would you go out your way to start shouting, "Hey, QuickBooks"? And is that the future that you're looking for?
I don't think it's something I really need in my life. But I just remembered the second QuickBooks Connect event we went to. There was the big video screen, and the video, and they get the phone and go, "Hey QB, I don't know whether I'll need to get a loan this month. Can you have a look at my figures to see?" It was
a yoga thing, wasn't it? If anyone can remember.
Yeah,
yoga studio.
Get some new premises to account for all the students that I'm getting. There are definitely some benefits. I do. When you started talking about it, I do remember it very briefly actually coming into the main product.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I definitely had it for a little while because I kept trying it out now and again. So I literally, all the questions were, you had to type them in. You couldn't talk them in. You would type in, "What is my profit?" And it would sort of give me an answer. I don't understand that question right now. So I kept trying lots of different things, and it kept used to coming back with, "I don't really understand that question right now." So I gave up on it because it was easy for me to run the report and just find out for myself. But yeah, maybe it'll come back, because one of those things is I guess that you would sort of type in that question, "What is my profit?" and then it would just ping up the profit and loss report. It would look at pick out certain strings, I guess, in a text, and think, "Oh, I think I know what you mean by that," and here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think there could be some benefits in there, like you say, Aaron. I think it can be slightly gimmicky as a flashy new thing. Sometimes that it's like a little nice toy, but does it provide much substance? Sometimes I think that there are maybe things that could be a little bit more important to look at, like the invoice template.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. But I think the thing that is important to note, and I've started to learn this more and more, is it's like, for me and you, it's a feature we probably, let's be honest, we probably won't be using all that often. When was the last time we went to the help pages or anyway, we probably wouldn't need to. But for vast majority of people, I think that's a huge kind of benefit to them, is to make that help system as easy as we possibly can. And we know we've kind of been involved in a bit of kind of technical, trying to help people out and everything else. And I think a lot of it is down to, once they find that issue or once they're put into the right place, one of the great things about QuickBooks is the fact that it is so intuitive. The idea is owned by Intuit, and it's got that idea that once you push someone in the right direction, most of the time they can find it, can't they? And they can figure it out themselves. It's just pushing them over the line and getting them to that area. So I think it's one of those features where it reminds me of that. You remember the QuickBooks themes in QuickBooks Labs? The idea of putting dark mode on. Again, something I would never be interested in, but I can imagine there's quite a lot of people where that'd be really beneficial to. So I can definitely see a benefit for it. I don't know. Maybe one day we will get as far as we did with that yoga, because I think you're absolutely right. That if for anyone who wasn't there or didn't get a chance, I've never been able to see that video anywhere else. So I think that was a one-time one. But I'd love to get like a copy of that video, because there was some really like interesting aspects of what they wanted QuickBooks to be, wasn't there? The idea you could have video call with your accountant and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think the more they kind of push it down that route and they want it to go down there, I think it's only going to be better for the people who just want to go on and quickly get the answer they need, isn't it? So yeah, for that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one then, let me just bring it up here, is another little tweak to QuickBooks itself. And I think this has got a lot of great potential, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not 100% finished just yet. So if I was to bring in this one here, it's very similar to the fact that we had before, where we were talking about banking and be able to bring the functionality in there. But now there's this opportunity to do manage connections just here. And this manage connections option, if I just click into there, gives you a nice little breakdown. I mean, it's definitely not ready for UK now because it's US dollars at the moment. But the idea here is it's giving us a breakdown of our linked accounts. As you can see here, I've got all these accounts that need fixing and amending and reauthorizing directly from here. So it's about trying to give you that kind of view where you can see what your health status, if your current connections are. Now, one thing that I would love to see at this point, because when I saw this, I thought, oh, excellent. But I think we now need a way to prompt a user. So if it's the accountant looking in, or if it's another member of the team looking in, we need a way to prompt the user to go and actually action that and fix that. Because one of the things at the moment is, for me now, finding these 3 issues here, I would then presumably have to contact the client one way or another. So I think the next step here should be kind of like a prompt option or something like that to bring it in there. But it's a small change, but I think it's something that could be quite useful. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, that is definitely pretty neat. And I see what you mean, because yes, you're logged in, and if you had authorization, you can click on the reauthorize button. But if you're logged in as the bookkeeper and you don't have that, then it means that, like you say, you've got to give that that client a call or an email. But if you were able just to sort of click a button that says, send a message to client, and it basically either pinged an email or a text to them that sort of says, your accountant needs you to reconnect your QuickBooks file. It doesn't have to be any more than that, does it?
No.
Log in and get it done, basically. And they could do it from their phone, couldn't they? Because if they've got the app on their phone, bosh, and away you go. So that is pretty good. But having that extra button on there for the person that doesn't have the authorization to reauthorize would be good.
Yeah, because there is that email template that QuickBooks have got, haven't they, where you can send it out from QuickBooks Accountant. So there is that functionality there, but it's in the wrong place. It's like, we don't really need it in QuickBooks Accountant, do we? We need it in the client, I think. That's where it would be best. But, and like you said with the app, it's the idea of pinging the app. Most, if they're using the QuickBooks app itself and they get a ping, most of the time it's easy enough to go in and get it authorized just there. We did quite a lot, didn't we, in the when we were talking about recertification, and how nowadays using the app is actually so much easier to reconnect. Like, especially like we've got Revolut and NatWest, both of them now. There's an opportunity for you to reauthorize them directly from the phone, because it jumps straight to the app. You click on authorize and it's job done, sort of thing. So yeah, it's so much easier on your phone, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. All right. Okay. The next one that I want to point out.
Just before we go on to that, this is just a little. Anyone from Intuit that might be listening here, I just thought, why isn't there just, if you're logged into a client file, why isn't there either down the left-hand side or at the top immediately a button that just says message to client?
Yeah, I know.
Because it doesn't matter where you are in the software. You might need that bank connection. You might need to file the VAT. You might need to ask a question against the transaction. Instead of you having to go anywhere at all, just press the button that's immediately visible wherever you happen to be in QuickBooks, and watch the way you are.
Because there was always this, wasn't there? This request area, and when it first came out, this was brilliant idea. Like, the concept of it is fantastic. The idea that, as an accountant, we can request information from a client, we can get that information over to them, and the whole team can see it. And from conception, it was a brilliant idea. The only problem is, the only way for me to get that request is to actually leave QuickBooks Online, leave my client, and go to QuickBooks Accountant, isn't it? And that disconnect just didn't work, did it? It made it really difficult to use that solution.
That's the only thing. You've got to go in QBOA first.
Exactly. Now, one thing I did notice was it the last? It must have. I mean, I'm starting to forget now because of COVID and everything. I think it was on the last live one we went to, last QB Connect, and it was that. I tell a lie. It was in the American one, and it was that idea that. And it's part of this next bit we're going to look at, this accounting review area. But it was, you could go into an individual transaction and then you could message the client about that individual transaction from there. Yeah. Now that is, pretty much what we need, isn't it? And that's exactly what you've just kind of described there. So speaking of accounting review, so if you remember, we had the opportunity under accounting tools to find our work paper. So this is an accountant only part of the software here. And we had a month end review section in our accounting tools. But the problem is that not everyone jumps into the accountant tools area and spots these two little areas here. So we've now been given the accounting review section. And with the accounting review section, you can get yourself to your month-end review, which we've talked about quite a bit on this show. And if you've done your recertification, you also was shown it there, and we went through it in that area. But also, where month-end review, we now have the option to jump into work papers as well. Now, work papers is something that we really like, and we had a really good talk about it, didn't we, with a guest few months back with. And we talked about how useful it could be, and how we had the opportunity to really bring in some great innovations into here with Johan, and talking about how the work papers is a great way where we can keep on top of our client work and everything else. But now they've just moved it under this same area for accounting review and bring it there. So no real extra bits here. They've added year-end tasks now, which they brought in, and you can kind of customize these to your heart's content and make them work. And I know they are looking at kind of bringing this area in a little bit more. And then I know they're looking to try and bring some changes into here. But the idea is about discoverability and the ability that you can now have that accounting review section. So what do you think to that? And Ash, it's a small change, isn't it? But hopefully something that means more people can see it.
Yeah, it's definitely easier for for the accountant or the bookkeeper just to spot it straight away, so it's nice and clear up down the left hand side. And I think there's going to be some nice tools in there, and I think that this will help, especially those small bookkeepers and accountants that actually don't have the money to spend on huge software subscriptions, and they can do a lot of the stuff directly in here just to get things nice and tidy. And I think there's some letter templates in there now as well, or they're on their way. So it's all good stuff. It's really useful.
Yeah, it's not there quite yet, is it? But they were talked about, weren't they? So yeah, is it on the tools? No, it's not. But no, you're right. But yeah, I like the idea of this accounting review section up here. So hopefully, we can see some extra, because I suppose the good thing is, or the thing to bear in mind, I suppose, for these little changes like this is the more people that get to use these features, the more chances that we're going to get updates to it, enhancements to it. It's going to be continued to be utilized and everything else, because we've already seen, haven't we, if a solution or a part of this software isn't being overly utilized, then there's a threat that it could be discontinued. So the more people that we can show and see it, I think is a really good thing. And also I'm sure that's where they get more feedback as well, because this feedback button over here, because they're both in kind of work beta stages, if you like. These feedback I know are really crucial to integrate into how they improve the product and everything else. So yeah, it's good. Wonderful. All right, next one then. Next one is just a bit of a disclaimer, really, in terms of some information that we got today, so hot off the press. If you have a Go Cardless connection with QuickBooks Online, you may have known that it's not been working as intended lately. So this was first coming on the forum. So if you've gone on the Facebook forums or any of the kind of chitter chatter around QuickBooks, you've probably seen quite a few people reporting this issue. I certainly spotted it a while back, about last week, I think it was. And then there was the opportunity there, or the problem was that it was Go Cardless was actually bringing in the wrong transactions, or bringing the transactions the wrong way around. So it was causing some quite major issues when it comes through. But thankfully, QuickBooks has actually issued a statement on this issue. And basically, they've said the following. They said, "We have recently identified an issue with our Go Cardless fees, where transactions made between the 24th and 30th July are showing as positive when they should be shown as a negative amount. All Go Cardless transactions made after 30th July are correct. They will be providing, so QuickBooks themselves will be providing an automated fix, and we don't need to take any action. This will resolve any incorrect transactions within the feed and ensure your balance is accurate. We'll be in touch again as soon as possible to confirm when this has been done." And they have said, because I know a couple of people have already made the adjustments, that if you have made the adjustments yourself, then please use the Contact Us section to talk to them about it. So it's great that there's a fix out there. That's the most important thing, isn't it? But it is, it's kind of pushing us to how much we are getting really reliant on these integrations, aren't we? And as soon as one of the integrations go wrong, or it stops, or anything else, we seem to have a bit of an issue. And it's almost like, and I don't know how this could ever be achieved, but we almost like need a health center or a checklist or something within QuickBooks where we know, are our connections working? Are they still doing what they're intended? Do you know what I mean, Ash?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Aaron, because I was having a chat a couple of weeks ago with a software company that sort of look after sort of a billing solution, usually for sort of telecoms companies. And I was chatting to them about we're at the moment we're sort of doing a lot of manual stuff. But you were thinking about perhaps creating a Go Card, an immediate Go Cardless integration or a QuickBooks integration, because they don't have any of those at the minute. And we're sort of thinking about possibly trying to help them with that. But we sort of agreed on a couple of things, that sometimes, because so many things are automated, you sort of lose that that little check that you would do sometimes as either an accountant or a bookkeeper, where you'd sort of think, well, actually, I only have to do 2 extra things, which could be download the report, check it, and then if I'm happy with the report, click another button and upload. I think that little step, it is a manual step and it's a step in between, but it does give me a little sense check to make sure, what is going in the back, what is happening between QuickBooks and GoCardless. Yes. I know exactly what's happening, because at the moment with QuickBooks and GoCardless, you don't really know what's happening until it happens. So there's so much automation there that you don't know when is that money actually going to be taken out of that other person's bank account. Because I found in the past, well, I'll set the due date, but then they won't collect it for so many days after that day. So I'll get it, I might actually get it 10 days after the invoice date. Whereas if you go directly in GoCardless, you select the actual date it's collected. So there's twos and there's fours and against sometimes.
Definitely. Information. And I think as well, it's one of those where I think this is where Xero definitely have an advantage, because their integration with GoCardless is they've got a lot more kind of opportunities, and maybe that's because they open up their platform a little bit more to developers. I don't know, but the integration with GoCardless is you'll get that opportunity to see when the money is going to be taken out. You'll get the opportunity to see that, and also you have the opportunity to when you first set up a client, it'll automatically send a please complete a GoCardless mandate. So it might be a case that maybe because it was one of the first, if you think about it, GoCardless was one of the original integrations, wasn't it, back in the day? And I've never seen any major changes to it or something else. So maybe it's just a case of having some way of like revamping that connection in some way or another. And then maybe then there'll be an opportunity to kind of see how we can have like an indication that it's working, or some way of understanding what's working and what's not. Because I know we, as an accountant, we have that overview page, don't we? But that's not available to clients, and it doesn't tell us if the connection's still active or anything. It just tells us what apps are available. So yeah, I think there's room to help us help clients and for clients to help themselves a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think what would be really handy if I was working at Intuit and I wanted to improve the GoCardless thing, because I know we've spoken about this before, about the ability of like editing some of the settings.
Yeah.
Even with that to one side, when we've got the list and the mandates of GoCardless, there should be another little tab in there that says like collect last collections on the way or something similar that tells you what is in progress.
Yeah,
because
exactly right.
It's the same thing that you get when you log into GoCardless. If you've just made if you just put the claims in, you've got a screen there that still says these are all pending. But really, we should see that in QuickBooks as well, without having to jump out.
Well, exactly right. Yeah. And we've become so reliant on it. And I know, especially I've some of the work that you've done outside of here in terms of the videos and everything else. I know you're a big proprietor on control accounts and everything else. And majority of the time, a control account would solve most of these issues, wouldn't it? And as long as you keep on top of that control account and keep reconciling it, then you'll be fine. But GoCardless, because it uses undeposited funds, I think that's where sometimes it can get a little bit lost, if you like, or there's less of an opportunity, I think, for people to spot errors or issues until not necessarily until it's too late, but until more issues have occurred. It's not I personally don't think people would look at their undeposited funds every single day. It's just not something they'll do, is it? So
no.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's going to be a difficult one to salute, but maybe the fact that we've now got more real estate, if you like, on that dashboard, because they are doing changes to the dashboard, aren't they, in terms of giving us more options, the whole get things done and business overview section and all that lot. Maybe that's kind of what they're trying to do, is give us an opportunity to be able to see them, because it did say at one point, and I don't know if this is still on the cards or not, but they said that the dashboard was going to be open up to third-party developers, so that you could bring in your own tiles to the dashboard. So maybe that could be a solution that kind of push it to the developers, to the third parties, the developers themselves. But if you had like a dashboard which was just, the status of Go Cardless, I think that would be something that people would probably opt to bring into their dashboard, wouldn't they? So
yeah, something to think about.
Let's see. Yeah, I can imagine it now. A fixed asset registered, a little stamp on the dashboard.
I think it definitely needs that. That's what I'm saying, really.
Yeah, I'll be first in line to put it on. All right. Next one then. Speaking of Xero, segue there, and their integration with Go Cardless and how that's been working. There has been a outage from Xero itself, so it's just something to bring people into aware of. Basically, there was an outage. It was last week, I believe, and the problem was also all about the ability to actually sign in and actually get yourself through the authentication and going through everything else. And it was out for, according to this blog I'm just reading now, it was out for a couple of hours, but it's 8 hours in total. Which is, it's obviously bad and everything, but I think the biggest conversation topic about this is how reliant we are. We love cloud-based technology, and we love the fact that we can get access to it anywhere and anything else. But this was just a small little security blip where Xero rightly, stopped people from being able to get in, so they could get the fix in and make sure that there was no problems with your data or anything like that. So they did the right thing, and and they got it fixed pretty quickly. But it's just how much we were reliant on the software, isn't it? And as soon as they go out, that's it. It's all over, isn't it? If you're leaving your VAT return till the last moment to physically file it, then you've got a bit of an issue there, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, things do happen. It is a bit of a pain. And we don't think we've been 8 hours without QuickBooks before, but I've been in like an hour or a couple of hours before, and even that can be pretty painful. I think sometimes you just have to think, okay, well, think of all the time that you save, whether it's using Xero, think of all of that time you have saved over the last, whatever, hours or days, weeks in time than what you would normally have to do using a manual system, and just think, do you know what? I deserve a day off. So let's just think, it's not the software isn't working, I'll do something else. Maybe I'm a little bit too laid back for my own, but sometimes you just sort of think, oh, well, what can you do?
What I always found was the outage was always around about 9 o'clock in the morning when you had 70 odd people waiting to train or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. That fact, you're right, Aaron. That's the only time QuickBooks ever went down was when I was about to train somebody.
Yep. Yeah, you got the PowerPoint presentation up and running, you're about to press go, and it's like, oh, you can't get yourself into QuickBooks. Okay. But these things happen, don't they? So
usually the room full of Sage and Xero fans when you're about to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly right. Just another quick little update. I've got another one here, and it's quite interesting in terms of the way that it comes through. In fact, let me share this screen. It might be the best way of me doing this. But there was an update and unfortunately, this is the American side. So it's one of those where we may get the updates, we may not, in terms of the UK. But if I bring this up here, the interesting thing for me, we've been talking about this a few times now, but it's this app transition area here. So app transitions, can you see that just there? I can't get it any bigger, unfortunately. Let me try and bring that screen. That's better. So the app transitions area here, and we've seen this with Amazon. Amazon's been kind of like the main one that's been bringing it in, and actually, this solves that issue we were just talking about with Go Cardless, doesn't it? Because if this was flowing through in here, like we're about to talk about Square being able to come through here, kind of solves your issue. So you've got your banking, you've got your app transitions, rules, receipts, and tags, and in the app transition area. Here we're talking about the idea of bringing in your Square account. So Square being one of the really popular point of sale solutions that you've got. And the great thing about Square is not just point of sale, it's also you can do website or web e-commerce sales as well. It's one of the few ones I know as well where they give you the opportunity to take card payments over the phone. So they've got like you can bring it up on screen and you can type in the numbers and all that and it can charge a card for you. It's really, really powerful piece of solution. And this is their way of getting that information in. Now in the UK, we seem to have got that kind of iZettle, or Zettle as it's called now, partnership. So I don't know if that's kind of exclusivity or anything like that. So it might be a case that we won't get this anytime soon. And we don't have that app transition area yet anyway. So it's not something that would be readily available. But this could be a really powerful addition. And it's one of those ones that, are, when you have a business who are using Square, it's one of those ones where sometimes you have to bite the bullet and say, look, Xero or whoever's going to be a better solution for you because they natively can have that integration. So the more of these sort of integrations, the better. What do you think to this one, though? It seems like it could work it's probably solving those issues we were talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looks pretty neat. I mean, I'm guessing from what from what I can see on that screen is that because we've got transactions for an app.
Yes.
Does that mean you could only connect one? Because I can't sort of see.
Well, we've definitely seen these pictures before, and I've seen people showing the Amazon one. So there's definitely options to bring multiple apps in. I assume just like the banking page, there'll be an option to jump between your apps.
Yeah. Okay.
If you think about it, it's full review, reviewed, excluded just there. So we're just missing this top bit, aren't we?
Yeah. So perhaps if you've just got the one, you've just got that one there. But if you do connect another one, then you'll have one to flip between.
Yeah, exactly. So I really do think this is going to be a great little addition because, it's one of those things where we have more control over it. It's brilliant that some of the integrations that work, but it's a lot of those where you set it up and then, like we've already said, you just hope for the best and hope it's going to work. This way round, you're going to have the opportunity to put rules in place and you're going to have the opportunity to post maybe certain transactions to certain things, and especially with all the different VAT issues and everything else we're looking at coming along, this could help it. And the fact that it's not just a bank account, because one of the problems we have is like the PayPal integration now, because it's just treated as a normal bank account and just the information just tries to flow through, we tend to get errors every now and again, don't we, of like transactions that haven't come through properly, or they're not being converted to the right currency and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully the fact that the banking stays as the banking and the app transitions are something a little bit different, hopefully means that it'll be more robust to handle with these more complicated transactions that you get when you do like these Square and PayPal and all that lot. Yeah, so fingers crossed on that one. Just one of those ones where we hope we get to see the app transition in the UK pretty soon. News as well, because I thought I've only just spotted this one, but estimates and Invoice Online, there's going to be some adjustments to it. So we talked about, or we saw the estimate change, didn't we, in the last Quickbooks Connect. There was this talk about how the estimates are going to change and give you the option to be able to make some adjustments to it and have a chance to kind of edit them a little bit more granular. So it looks like this is coming, and possibly this could be kind of the solution that they're bringing in that's going to hopefully get rid of the issue that we got with the importing invoices and thing, because it looks like we've got more options to make changes there. You can see here we've got kind of what it looks like. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be something that we're going to see as an option that will come not just to estimates but to invoicing as well.
Yeah, that does look good. I did sort of spot that. I've forgotten about it when you sent the link through the other day. So if we are able to change those, that is probably why the labs thing has been removed. That would be my guess.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I can't remember if they actually figured it out, but there was an option. I definitely saw somewhere where it was almost like it felt like they had the option where the end consumer can make adjustments to the estimate. Now that's going to be dependent on if you give them the option to or not, but sometimes it's really useful to give the end consume the option to add an extra hour here or an extra one of this or anything else. So, we'll see how it goes, but that could be quite powerful if it does go down that route.
Yeah, and I think that the thing I was checking the other day, in fact, is that with an estimate at the moment, if you send an estimate out in QuickBooks, people can view it, but there isn't actually a link back that says, "Oh, I approve that estimate." Whereas I think this update is actually going to say, "Yes, I do approve that estimate," and it pings the message back that says, "Oh, it's approved."
Yeah, and it looks here as well. You can even make the payment of that there and then as well, or at least the deposit, isn't it? So, and that's going to be powerful for a lot of people because it gives them that option, doesn't it, of bringing that in. So, yeah, that'd be brilliant. The other one I wanted to bring in, and I'm just bringing it up now, Accountancy Manager. So, I have spent a lot of development time in terms of my own practice with Accountancy Manager this last couple of weeks in terms of trying to make sure that we streamline our practice and everything else. And the reason for that is because there's been a few new features that have come through Accountancy Manager itself. So for people who don't know what Accountancy Manager is basically a practice management solution for accountants to help their practice, their clients, and brings out some really great innovation in there in terms of making it so there's a bit of automation and there's an opportunity to talk to Companies House. And really it's just a really powerful solution so that as accountants we can make sure that we're not we're providing the most best solution we can for our client. And they've had two recent updates coming through, and they've actually looked at their roadmap as well, and their roadmap itself has changed again. So we talked about this a while back actually in terms of what was coming on. And if I just share screen now, this is the one we talked about before. And we basically talked about how in the roadmap that's been shown is the fact that we have the option to bring in QuickBooks Integration Phase 2 Invoice. And I've spent a lot of time kind of working with this at the moment. And the good news is that's now live. So this was released at the beginning of the year, was the opportunity to integrate your QuickBooks Phase 2 invoicing. And the idea here is if you generate invoices for clients in QuickBooks Online, then you have the option to show it in Accounting Manager, and that can be really, really powerful because it's giving you the option to, your staff members can stay in Accounting Manager, they can see what their clients are paying for. They can raise and make adjustments in Accounting Manager and have to go to QuickBooks, and it works really well, to be fair, on them in terms of how it's kind of gone through. There's a few teething problems at the beginning, but thankfully that's all been solved now, and we seem to have a solution that by and large is working really, really well. The other bit that's gone live as well is that Zapier integration. So if you've ever come across Zapier, it's one of those ones that's becoming more and more kind of prevalent at the moment in terms of people using it and bringing it in. And the idea of Zapier is the idea that you could make it so that if you do something in Accounting Manager, for example, you create a new client, then you can tell another piece of software to do something else. So as an example, you could say that if you create a new client, then send an email directly to the client to sign up to go cardless, for example. And you can have those sort of integrations and those sort of work places. So those two are live now and working really, really well. Really impressed with how they're going. And they also announced their next kind of stages as well. So they've been great to kind of inform people of what's next. And what's next is they're going to have a better solution for emails. So they're going to be able to bring emails directly into Accountancy Manager, which looks great. Excited how that's going to work. And what was the other roadmap update? And they also said that they're going to have a Go Proposal integration as well. So Go Proposal is one of the really outstanding kind of opportunities there. And in fact, they talked about it here. They have the ability to bring in your Go Proposal directly in. So yeah, it's a good update for Accounting Manager, and one that I think's been done really, really well. So yeah, did did you ever play around with Accountancy Manager? I can't remember. We had this conversation before, didn't we, Ash?
Yeah, no, I've not had to, Aaron, because just the way that I've worked in the past, and I've always just been on my own. I've not needed all of that. All of the things that really go with it. And as I sort of wound down my practice pretty much about 3 years ago now. So I've got about 3 clients probably that I need to sort of help amongst everything else that I'm doing. It's enough, believe me. But yeah, I could. I know you're a fan of theirs. There's a few different ones, aren't there, about and I can't remember them all now.
Asanta and those ones aren't there. Yeah.
So it's really so from my understanding, it's really like a CRM for accountants.
Yeah, I mean, technically we use a different solution for CRM. Mainly I use it more than anything as a client database, but one that I know that keeps all my tasks in there as well. It's just, that's where the real power comes in. And it seems really daft, but it's that idea that you take on a client or you've got a current client, and there's a little tick box to say you do the accounts, a little tick box to say you do the payroll, and a little tick box to say you do bookkeeping. And as soon as you tick that tick box, the tasks just get created for you so that you don't drop the ball and you don't forget to put them in.
I think that was the original idea of the tools in QuickBooks Online Accountant, which never really took off. When you could create the tool, the tasks to do for your clients.
You're right. Yeah.
It never really, took off. When I was in practice, I did set up quite a few of my own tasks in there.
Yeah.
The problem was, Aaron, I still forgot to look at it. The thing is, it's like a lot of the and I think they found that actually with. I glance at it occasionally, but with some of these things, you actually need you've set up the tasks, but then you still need some sort of reminder if you've not done it that sort of says, "Why haven't you done the tax return?" So I know it could be yet another email that comes through into your email, but sometimes if you've got lots of things on the go, you don't always. Unless you get yourself into that habit of going, well, the first thing I'm going to do when I turn my computer on is log into QuickBooks Online Accountant and go to my tasks area. I suppose that's what a good person should do.
Yeah.
I suppose sometimes when you're juggling lots of things, you think, I know what I need to do today. And you turn on your computer and you go straight to do something else. And then later you think, I'll just look at my tasks. I should have done that. And I've forgotten. So I should have had a reminder.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I remember when it was one of those things, wasn't it? When it was first announced in QuickBooks Online Accountant, the whole task management solution. Now, again, I was really excited about it. But I suppose it just never felt like it kind of filled the gap that I needed for my practice. But I can definitely see, for your sort of situation and for any kind of smaller accounting firm, it was perfect, wasn't it? I mean, it still is, really. I mean, the idea that it automatically kind of looks into the client's folders, client's files as well, and brings that sort of thing. That's ideal, isn't it? And that's the one thing that I think. That's the thing that I'm really excited about going forward in terms of where the next steps are going to be in terms of accountancy, practice management, and all that sort of stuff. Because surely or hopefully the next step is that it's great that we have this integration between in this case Accountancy Manager and Company's House, and we've got Accountancy Manager and QuickBooks Online for your practice, and it can tell the when you've got a new invoice, and you can bring that over, and it's got a two-way integration. That's fantastic. But I'm really looking forward to the software that comes out and says, look, here's all your clients that you have, here are all the clients, and here are the ones where the bank's not connected, here are the ones where you've got negative debtors, here are the ones where you've got overdrawn direct loan account, or whatever it's going to be. And that's got to be something that's coming sooner rather than later. And that's where I think we're going to get a lot of kind of opportunity there to help clients and be able to clean data up and everything else. Because if you can have that idea that one piece of software can have that overview of your clients, I mean, think how powerful that would be and how useful that could be for accountants.
Yeah, and some of these things that we're just chatting about, it's almost like they were teased to us a few years ago.
Exactly.
Like on, while we were chatting, I was just flicking back to my accountant area, and I just had a quick look in the work. It was the work area.
Yeah, that's right.
Tasks, and and I looked and I thought, they're actually, it's a nice screen. And it says what's due this week, what's due overdue, what's due in the next 30 days. I jest a bit. Actually, I did get into a good habit for a while of using it. But I haven't had to use it for some time now.
Yeah.
But on the main client list screen, I'm sure that I'd sort of seen images, or unless I dreamt it, of, when your payroll is due, and I think some of these things might actually be available in the States and Canada, not filtered.
They definitely have more, don't they, on that screen?
When your next VAT return is due. And then also being able to put in there, when the year-end accounts are due, so that you should be able to, like we've got at the moment, being able to filter that list by lead, being able to filter that client list by those things.
Yeah.
What accounts are due between July and such, and then all of a sudden you've got that focus, then, haven't you, on okay, these are the ones I need to start working on because they're going to be due in the next couple of months, and it's there. And then you hope that you wouldn't hopefully need to have so many different tools to, some of those things could be in the one place. And you're right, actually, aren't you? If you can keep it from having to go to a third party, then, just like we've talked about with Go Cardless failing, you're not going to have those issues, are you, if it's all built in the solution? And there definitely was, because I'm sure as well, back in when we first kind of started looking at these integrations and stuff, pretty sure that TaxFiler had that deep integration with QBOA, because I've always remembered this image where there was that list and it was these tax returns have been done, or these tax returns and status of them as well. So, that's another option, isn't it? That they could give, API access to that QBOA area, so QuickBooks Online area, and that could give options for third parties to go in there and do that sort of thing for them, couldn't it? Yeah, and I think when TaxFiler first came out, they were there was an exclusivity with QuickBooks Online alone for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know whether they had secret plans and they never actually panned out.
Iris got involved. Iris got involved.
Yeah. And then all of us, but now it connects to all of the other accounting packages as well. So, which is what you're going to do, because you can't really have all of your eggs in one basket. The same with with me and NetTracker, which we now connect with Xero and Sage as well as QuickBooks.
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it? It's got to be that way. Cool. Wow, that's how flew by, Ash. With that, then, I suppose just making sure we've got there's a couple of questions that come in, but we're going to have to save them for next time with the time that we're on at this moment in time. But thank you for those questions. We'll make sure we bring them in next time round. If you are listening via the podcast, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook so you can have an opportunity to join us live like we are now. Which reminds me, Ash, I'm going to put you on the spot now. When are we back?
Well, I do believe it is the 1st of September, being the first Wednesday of that month.
I'm going to go with that's definitely true as well, because we didn't discuss this prior to the thing. But yeah, let's go with the 1st of September. That sounds good enough for me. And what time is it, Ash?
It is 4:30 p.m. UK time, which could be 10:30 a.m. US Central Time, depending on summertime. whether we're on British summertime or whether we're in Greenwich Mean Time. There might be some differences there.
I'm glad you spotted that one because I wouldn't have had a clue if that changes or not. Brilliant. Ash, have you got any videos or anything planned for us?
I haven't at the moment. I've got lots of stuff going on at the minute, in the middle of trying to possibly move house and all sorts of things. So I've got a lot going on. So unfortunately, my video creations are on the little back burner at the moment until I sort of get some other bits finished, and then I'll get back onto them. So apologies for anyone that's waiting for 60 seconds of bliss. I'll be back on those.
It's just not the same. YouTube's just not the same without you, Ash. It's just not the same.
No, I know.
For me, though, I've actually got an accountancy manager. With all this time I've spent on our own practice in terms of how it's worked and how the integrations are, there are some good findings that I've got to bring in, and also some limitations as well that I won't spoil now, but there are bits that kind of need to be, in my opinion, addressed, especially when, again, the Xero integration and the Sage integration seems to have these absolute spot on, but for us QuickBooks, we don't quite have the same one, which, the more I think about it, the more I'm wondering, and maybe actually you'll be able to kind of find out for us one day, but it just feels like the API between QuickBooks and the apps and the API between Xero and the apps, it seems to be there's limitations with QuickBooks as opposed to Xero. So maybe that might be a topic for another day, but it's it's interesting that sometimes it always seems to be the same kind of pitter patter where a solution can connect to Xero or do something in Xero, but it can't do it in QuickBooks. Is there a reason for that? Do you know?
It can be. It all depends on what you're trying to look for, because I think sometimes they do handle things in a slightly different way.
Yeah,
it all depends on exactly what it is what your end goal is, because there are a few little differences there.
Yeah, and I suppose it's telling, isn't it, that sometimes like the Xero one came first, so that might indicate that it's an easier platform to integrate with. Maybe not. We'll see. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what the reasons are or anything. Maybe we could encourage your app developer friend to come on and share us some stories maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. I'll see if I can get Andy on these days.
Brilliant. All right. Well, now we've got the time set for the next QuickBooks Labs. It's just for me to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from me.
That's a goodbye from me.
Cheers, everyone. We will see you in a month's time with some more great news to do with QuickBooks Online. See you in a month. Bye now.
Bye.